There are tomatoes everywhere. We are officially living in some kind of tomato wonderland, and honestly, it's amazing to see. We've inherited a full-blown tomato kingdom from the previous garden owner. A legacy so lush and abundant, it feels like we've hit the gardening jackpot. These plants are growing with wild determination, like they've got something to prove. And we're here for it. We're truly happy about this explosion of growth. It's a beautiful challenge. Today, we're diving into the garden jungle to give our tomatoes the care they deserve. We're going to prune, tidy, and create space so they can thrive even more. Because good airflow isn't just for mountain hikes, it's essential for healthy, productive plants. We're removing the lower leaves, clearing out the suckers, those extra little shoots trying to be branches, and making sure every tomato has room to shine. And we'll show you why each of these steps makes a real difference. But that's not all. While the tomatoes are making headlines, our zucchinis, the green machines, are working quietly and powerfully. We planned space for them, and now they're showing up in full force. Their growth is strong, steady, and seriously impressive. In fact, these zucchinis are playing a key role in our 1,000-kilo challenge. Every one we harvest brings us closer to that epic milestone, and we're excited to share this journey with you. This week's harvest, absolutely phenomenal. And just when we thought we'd picked it all, we came back and found even more. The green machines were far from done, and the best part, we've been able to share this abundance. The local residents near the Wykes Foundation have let us know how much they appreciate the fresh food donations. We're deeply grateful for their kind words, equally thankful to the incredible team at Wykes. They make sure these harvests go straight to the people who need them most. If your garden's bursting with potential, or if you're just getting started, make sure to check out the StrongEcho AI gardening app. It's like having a plant whisperer in your pocket. Download it today, share your garden stories in the comments, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update.
There are a lot of tomatoes growing close to each other in our greenhouse. Should I spread them out, and what's best to plant next to them?
In a greenhouse, tomato plants should be spaced about 60 centimeters or 24 inches apart to allow room for growth and air circulation. As for companion plants, basil is a good option. It repels pests, enhances tomatoes' flavor, and grows well in similar conditions. Marigolds are also beneficial, repelling nematodes that can affect tomato plants. Make sure to rotate crops each year to avoid disease buildup.
Now, let's celebrate this wild, beautiful garden growth, then get to work. You can grow it. The tomatoes are looking great tanned. I mean, really great. Lush green leaves, strong stems, and already they're starting to claim their territory. A few branches are flopping over the path like they own the place. It's giving garden runway, and the tomatoes are strutting. But here's the kicker, they're only up to my hips. That's it. These plants are just getting started. Like teenagers with big dreams and a lot of energy, they're still figuring out who they're going to be. So the question is, if they're this wild now, how's it going to look in a few weeks? We're talking jungle vibes, tomato tunnels, and maybe a machete on standby. Okay, maybe not the machete, but we know one thing for sure, this growth spurt is just the beginning, and we're pumped to see what's next. Let's take a quick look at the result before we rewind and show you how it all happened. Tomatoes trimmed. Paths cleared. The garden can breathe again. Feels good, right? Now, one last challenge. Spot the zucchinis. Remember those green machines? From the intro, still here, tucked between all the tomato madness. Hard to believe, huh? And yep, that concrete block with the upside-down pot, that's the camera stand. No fancy gear, just simple tools and real food. That's how we roll, because in the end, it's not about the videos, it's about growing something good. We just share it because we love it. You can grow it. The camera stands still. The world pauses for a moment. Everything moves slowly here, as it should in a garden. No rush, no deadlines, just patience and dirt. And there I am, taking the first few steps down the path. A path that's not really a path anymore, more like a green highway of tomato plants that long ago claimed, "We're the bosses here." And me, I'm just a human, blinking and bending, trying to wrestle back a little control. Spoiler, it's a losing battle. I move. Slowly. Not because I want to, but because that's just how it goes. When your body forgets, it can do more than crouch and hunch. Sometimes I pause, like a garden sloth. You know those creatures that look like they just woke up from a 3-day nap? Yeah, that's my speed, but with pruning shears in hand. And maybe a pinch too much indecision. Because here's the thing, every tomato plant is different. And if you don't get them or worse, think you do, they hit back. Not physically, obviously, but emotionally. Like that one time I thought I had to yank out a physalis, only to discover I'd just uprooted a perfectly innocent tomato. My gardening buddy gave me one look and I knew. Lesson learned forever. But now I'm hunting suckers. The cheeky little side shoots, from bottom to top, full focus, mixed with a cocktail of fear and love. Yeah, I love these plants now. Crazy, right? Sometimes I linger at a stem so long it feels like I'm trying to have a spiritual chat with the tomato, like quietly asking, "Are you important?" Or just an energy vampire with delusions of grandeur. If I'm still unsure, I whip out my phone. My AI gardening buddy's always there, ready to save me from myself. More helpful than some people I know. No judgment, just tips and pictures. And occasionally a virtual thumbs up that says, "You got this, snip away." And so I do. Snip off with those bottom leaves. They're just freeloaders, touching the soil, sucking moisture, inviting diseases like some sort of plant drama queens. Bye-bye and suckers. Those little rebels growing between the main stem and side branches. They don't get a choice either. Not always with confidence, but with care. Everything here moves slowly. Even time itself seems to stretch. You can almost see dust dancing in the sunlight, filtering through the greenhouse glass. Sometimes birds sing outside. Sometimes they sneak in, curious about our tomato chaos. They even pinched a few onions, the other daybirds with a refined palate, apparently. But today, they stay off camera. The only bird here is me, bent over in the tomato jungle, fluttering between doubt and decision. Kneeling down sometimes. Not out of reverence, but because my back throws a fit otherwise. Then it hits me. This plant has got to go. Too many. Tomatoes, not enough space. It's fighting its neighbors for light, air, and love. So out it comes. Not angrily, not brutally, gently. Because I know many more are coming. And only the strongest survive. So that in a month, when they've given their all, the next generation can step up. And as I do this, I think how weird it is that tomatoes and basil are best friends. Plant them together, they say. They make each other taste better. Sounds like a rom-com, but it's true. Tomato and basil, garden soulmates. But tomatoes next to potatoes. That's just asking for trouble. Potatoes are like the roommates you never wanted, but suddenly live with and ruin everything. Amid the tomato madness, I sometimes spot a flash of green, bigger, sturdier. There it is, the zucchini, the green machine. .com, strong, unbothered. Like it's saying, let them freak out up there. I'm doing my thing. Respect. And when I sit still for a moment, I feel something strange. Not muscle pain, that comes later. No real peace. Like the plants are looking back. Not with eyes, but with that tomato scent that sticks to your hands. The smell that says, "Good job, human. Keep going." I work on pruning, watching, doubting, learning, trying to make the path walkable again. Because honestly, you almost have to crawl through a jungle of tomatoes to get here. But slowly, light and air return to the rows. The plants breathe, and so do I. Sometimes I wonder, who am I here? The gardener? Or just a temporary guest lucky enough to witness something that was already growing? Maybe that's the magic of gardening. You don't have to understand it all. You don't have to control it. Just try, learn, and keep moving, no matter how slow. And when I glance up one last time at the glass roof, where sunlight pours in like it's shining just for these tomatoes, I think, this is it. This is what matters. No fancy videos, no fast time lapses. Just this, human and plant, together, growing. Yes, tomatoes, the drama queens of the garden world. They're picky, demanding, and can act like a diva. But boy, do they reward you with those juicy, sun-kissed fruits. First off, did you know tomatoes weren't always seen as food? For a long time, people thought they were poisonous, which is ironic, considering they're now the star ingredient on pizzas, in salads, and in your favorite pasta sauce. Talk about a globe. One of the biggest misunderstandings about tomatoes is that they need tons of space to grow. Sure. They like room to stretch their roots and sprawl. But overcrowding can sometimes work in your favor. It can protect against sunburn or keep pests guessing. But don't get carried away. Too tight and you risk fungal diseases. Like the dreaded blight, which tomato plants hate more than Mondays. Speaking of pests, tomatoes are a magnet for a whole bunch of critters, aphids, whiteflies, hornworms. But guess what? You can use companion planting as your secret weapon. Planting basil nearby isn't just a cliché. It actually helps repel some pests and enhances the flavor of your tomatoes. Plus, basil smells amazing, so your garden gets that bonus Italian vibe. Other good neighbors include marigolds, which keep pesky nematodes away, and garlic, which scares off spider mites and even some fungal problems. But beware. Plant tomatoes near potatoes, and you're basically inviting trouble for a tomato-potato turf war underground. Both are in the nightshade family and share vulnerabilities to the same diseases. It's like putting two competitive siblings in the same room. Things get messy fast. Now, let's clear up a classic myth. Tomatoes are vegetables. Wrong, botanically speaking, they're fruits, berries, in fact. But in 1893, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled them vegetables for tax reasons. So there you have it, the legal loophole that turned tomatoes into veggies on your plate. Ever notice those little suckers growing between the main stem and branches? Those side shoots drive gardeners crazy. But guess what? Removing them, actually, helps the plant focus energy on growing bigger, better tomatoes. But don't overdo it. If you prune too much, your plant might just throw a tantrum and slow down fruit production. And here's a fun fact. Tomatoes actually produce more fruit when they're slightly stressed. Yup, a little water stress can boost flavor. It's like the tomato equivalent of a dramatic actor giving a performance after a tough rehearsal. Oh, don't forget about pollination. Tomatoes are mostly self-pollinating, but they do appreciate a little help from buzzing bees or a gentle shake. So if you're growing indoors or in a greenhouse, give those plants a little wiggle now and then to keep things moving. And lastly, if you ever get overwhelmed by the sheer number of tomato varieties, cherry, heirloom, beefsteak, Roma, don't panic. Each type has its own personality and flavor profile. It's like choosing between jazz, rock, and classical music. You just gotta find your vibe. So, the next time you bite into a ripe, juicy tomato, remember, it's not just food. It's a story of ancient suspicions, sibling rivalries, garden, friendships, and a bit of drama, all wrapped up in a sunny, delicious package. So here I am, still crouched among my tomato jungle, a bit like a detective on a mission. You see, after all that pruning, whispering, and negotiating with these bossy plants, there's one sneaky nemesis I'm always watching out for: tomato. Diseases, those uninvited party crashers who show up just when you think your garden's thriving, ready to throw everything into chaos. It's like the soap opera of gardening drama, suspense, and lots of emotional blackmail from your own. Plants.tomatoes are surprisingly sensitive. They're like that friend who's super chill but just can't handle bad vibes. And diseases. Yeah, they bring all the bad vibes. So buckle up, because I'm about to take you on a tour of the most notorious tomato diseases, some weird facts, and a few survival hacks that actually work. Spoiler alert, some involve ladybugs, some involve ninja-like pruning skills, and one involves just plain old patience. Let's start with the big baddies, the blights. Late blight and early blight are basically the garden equivalent of the apocalypse. 1 minute, your tomato leaves are happy green. The next, they're covered in ugly brown or black spots, like they got into a fight with a paintball gun. And if you're not quick, your entire plant can go from thriving to tragic in a matter of days. The key: keep your plants dry. Water at the base, never overhead, because wet leaves are a disease magnet, and make sure there's good airflow. Also, if you spot any leaves looking shady, pun intended, toss them out. Don't just move them aside, hoping they'll get better. One single quotes, tight. Next up, Fusarium and Verticillium wilts, fancy names for fungi that clog your tomatoes' water pipes. Imagine your plant trying to drink, but the straw is all blocked up. The leaves start to wilt and curl, like they just found out Monday's coming. And unlike the common cold, these wilts stick around in your soil like that annoying neighbor who won't move out. Your best bet: plant resistant varieties and rotate your crops so you're not planting tomatoes in the same spot year after year. Crop rotation. It's not just for farmers, it's for smart gardeners. Now, have you heard of the tomato mosaic virus? No, it's not a modern art project, but it sure makes your leaves look like one. Blotchy patterns, distorted leaves. Your plant basically looks like it's been attacked by a toddler with paint. This virus spreads mainly through touch: your tools, your hands, even your sneezes, okay? Maybe not sneezes, but you get the idea. So sterilize those pruning shears, wash your hands, and avoid unnecessary plant poking. Powdery mildew is another fungal party crasher. White powdery spots, dusted over your leaves like someone tried to make a snow angel in your tomato patch. It weakens your plant, but it's usually manageable with good ventilation and timely pruning. Plus, it gives your garden that winter wonderland look, if you're into ironic gardening and pests. Oh boy, don't get me started on aphids and whiteflies. These tiny vampires suck the sap right out of your plants, making them weak and miserable. They also carry diseases, because why just annoy your tomatoes when you can infect them too? But here's a secret weapon: ladybugs. These little red heroes chow down on pests like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Invite them over, feed them well, and let them do their thing. One of the most confusing problems is blossom end rot, the black, leathery spot that appears on the bottom of your tomatoes, like a bad bruise you didn't see coming. Spoiler: it's not a disease. It's a calcium deficiency caused mostly by inconsistent watering. So your tomatoes are basically drama queens, throwing a tantrum because they're either too thirsty or too flooded. Solution: water consistently. Mulch to keep the soil moist and keep your calcium levels in check. And speaking of watering, here's a golden rule: tomatoes hate soggy feet, but don't like being parched either. Finding the watering sweet spot is like finding the perfect balance in life. Not too much Netflix, not too little sleep. Keep your soil moist but well drained, and your tomatoes will thank you with juicy, plump fruits. Here's a fun fact too. Impress your gardening friends. Did you know tomatoes are actually fruits? Not vegetables. Botanically speaking, they're berries. So technically, every time you eat a tomato, you're enjoying a berry. Mind blown, right? Oh, and companion planting. Planting basil alongside your tomatoes isn't just a tasty combo for your pasta sauce. Basil actually helps repel certain pests and can improve tomato flavor. True garden magic. On the flip side, keep tomatoes away from potatoes. They might seem like natural buddies, but potatoes can harbor diseases that love to jump over to tomatoes like overenthusiastic party guests. So, diseases might try to steal the spotlight, but with good care, observation, and a little bit of humor, you can keep your tomatoes happy and healthy. Because at the end of the day, gardening isn't about perfection, it's about patience. Learning and celebrating those tiny victories. Like spotting the first healthy red tomato after weeks of worrying. That's the real win. I pick up the camera and walk over to the spot I've been working on. Right there, small cucumber plants are starting to climb, carefully tied to the strings I just put up. These little plants are just getting their chance to grow between the big tomato plants. That's why I stripped back a lot of the tomato foliage around here, gave it a good haircut. Really. It was getting way too crowded. The tomatoes were spreading everywhere, taking up all the space and sunlight. But the cucumbers need room too. They need space to climb, to breathe, and to soak up the sun so they can grow big and strong. So the tomato jungle got a serious trim. Not because I don't love tomatoes, because I do, but because the cucumbers deserve a shot. And honestly, if we want to go 4 kilos, both of them need to share the spotlight. Alright, so I moved the camera to a new spot. Yep, right in the middle of this tomato jungle, and I've been at it for a good while. I've got about 17 minutes of footage showing me hacking away at this wild mess of tomato plants again. Why? Because I'm trying to carve out some serious breathing room for one very special guest, a little cucumber plant. Now, I won't torture you by making you watch me wrestle with vines and leaves for all 17 minutes. Nobody's got that kind of patience. So instead, let's fast forward through the chaos. And just like that, here we are, the big reveal. Check out that tiny cucumber, snug as a bug, hanging from its string like it owns the place. Around it, you can see the space I carved out. The clear path I made through the tomato madness. It might not look like much now, but trust me, this is a game changer. These little steps, these tiny acts of pruning and clearing, they take time, especially at my pace, which is probably closer to a slow turtle than a speedy hare. But I believe patience pays off. Because when these cucumbers start climbing and growing, when they finally show up with some real fruit, it'll all be worth it. And let's be honest, it's not just about making room for cucumbers. It's about balance, about giving every plant a chance to shine without getting totally smothered by the tomato takeover. The tomatoes, with all their glory, are still the stars of the show. But these cucumbers, they're the exciting new act, trying to steal some spotlight. And if we're aiming for kilos, both have got to get their share of the stage. So, this is the plan. Give the cucumbers space, light, and a sturdy string to climb on. Keep the tomatoes trimmed back just enough so they don't completely hog the spotlight. And with a little luck, plus some good old-fashioned gardening sweat, we'll be slicing into fresh cucumbers soon enough. Honestly, It's moments like this I love about gardening. The slow build, the careful balance, the little victories. It's a constant reminder that growing food is as much about patience and respect as it is about dirt and sun. Anyway, I'm excited, really excited. It's because seeing that cucumber plant start to take off, that's proof we're doing something right. And I can't wait to share the harvest with you all. All right. Now that we've trimmed back all those tomato plants and cleared the way for our little cucumber friends to hopefully thrive, it's time to shift gears and do something else super important. We're going to harvest some zucchinis, or courgettes for my British friends out there. So, deep in this tomato jungle, we're on a mission to find those zucchini plants. They're sneaky, hiding among the towering tomatoes. But if they're big enough, we're picking them. And trust me, this takes a good 8.5 minutes of careful searching. So buckle up. I'm going to share some cool facts, tips on how and when to harvest them, plus some common misunderstandings you might not have heard before. First off, when do zucchinis grow best? Well, they love the warmth, like that friend who refuses to put on a jacket even when it's chilly. Usually late spring through summer is prime time. If you get your planting right, you'll have zucchinis rolling in all summer long. They're fast growers too, so keep an eye out. Or you'll wake up one day and find a zucchini that's suddenly turned into a small baseball bat. Now, how do you know when to pick them? The golden rule is not too big, not too small. Around 15 to 20 centimeters long is perfect. Big enough to enjoy, but not so big that they get tough or seedy. Plus, the smaller ones just taste sweeter and more tender. And don't worry about hurting the plant. Zucchinis are pretty forgiving and will keep producing as long as you keep picking. Okay? Here's a weird but fascinating fact. The little sharp hooks on the stems and leaves. They look like tiny plant ninja stars, don't they? Those hooks actually help the zucchini grab onto nearby plants or supports as it grows. It's like nature's way of giving the plant a climbing hand or claw to hold on tight. But watch out, they can give you a surprise scratch if you're not careful. Speaking of which, zucchini plants can be a bit prickly to handle, but it's all part of their survival kit. The prickles help deter some pesky insects and animals from munching on them too early. So yeah, nature's built-in defense system is more hardcore than you might have thought. Now, some people think you should wait until zucchinis are huge before harvesting. Big mistake. If you let them grow too big, they get woody and lose their delicate flavor. It's like waiting too long to eat your favorite cake, it just isn't as good. Plus, giant zucchinis can slow down the plant from producing more fruit. So keep them coming, but keep them manageable. Another fun misconception is that zucchinis only grow on bushes. Actually, they spread out, sending vines all over the place, which means they need some space to roam or good support to keep things tidy. And yes, that sprawling habit is why it's so important to keep the tomato jungle trimmed otherwise. The zucchinis might never get the light or room they need. Harvesting zucchinis is surprisingly satisfying. You get to pick these little green trophies of your hard work, and they usually come in quick succession if the conditions are right. Oh, and if you're wondering what to do with all those zucchinis, here's a tip. Spiralize them for a healthy pasta swap. Grill them, or even sneak them into muffins. Honestly, zucchinis are the undercover heroes of the garden kitchen. So, as I'm wandering through this maze of tomatoes, snipping and gathering the zucchinis that have made it this far, I'm reminded how cool it is to harvest something that's been quietly growing underneath all the chaos. It's like finding treasure in your own backyard. I'll fast forward the rest of the harvest. All right, time to weigh. First bag comes in at 6.7 kilos. Not too shabby, right? Then the second bag, 6.5 kilos. And the third. That's 6.2 kilos. That wraps up the first win. But wait, there's more. We actually came back later, rocking my yellow shorts this time to pick a few extra zucchinis. No harvesting shots this round. Sorry about that. But you'll get to see the weighing. So here's the second weighing. 7.8 kilos for the first bag, and 5 kilos for the second. Adding it all up for this round, that's 6.7 plus 6.5 plus 6.2 plus 7.8 plus 5. It's a total of 32.2 kilos of zucchinis. And when we add that to the 221.5 kilos we already had, that brings us to 253.7 kilos total. We're doing really well, and we're just getting started this season. That 1,000 kilo goal. Yeah, we're definitely on track to hit it. Want to see how it all unfolds? Don't forget to like, follow, and share. And I'd love to hear what you do with your harvest. What are your challenges? Your victories? Drop your stories in the comments below. I'm all ears. You can grow it.